In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is indeed his messenger, and greet my brothers and sisters, family members, listeners and viewers. In the greeting words of peace, we say Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Fajr Show TV. This is the extra special people, the spiritual section, and also the visual section of the Fajr Show. And at this point, I'd like to introduce and welcome Sister Janet Aisha, who's sitting beautifully beside me in blue. In the greeting words of peace, welcome, sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum, family. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Brothers and sisters, it is so good to be on FajrShow.tv as well. Well done. Allahu Akbar. Progress is so important. God is the greatest, brothers and sisters. And since God is the greatest, it's so important for us to always be moving in accord with him and doing the best that we can with the best technology that we can. So well done, Brother Chris.
Yeah, moving with the times, not just with the mobile phones, not just with your iPod or your iPhone, but moving with the times and making these pieces of technology actually work for us. You know, we're living in an international age.
Yeah.
An international age of communication and information. So by Allah's grace and mercy, we strive to continue in the way that we've stepped out to reach our brothers and sisters with these words of truth, wisdom, to spiral up on a word in the early hours of the morning on the Fajr Show.
And I know it's not. Simple. I know that there's some technology or technological stuff involved in there, but you make it look so easy. And, you know, it's something that is so, it can be so simple, brothers and sisters, us learning how to move with the best of what we have. You know, we tend to do that in terms of brothers and sisters, the best looking brother that I can have or the best looking sister. But it's so important for us to move with the best that we can in order to share truth and share knowledge and share what we've been given.
Okay. Brothers and sisters, I think we need to start. We have 40 minutes to take care of this issue that we're looking at. We started last week with one topic out of 10 in order to stop the killing. The first topic, girls, guns, gangs. Last week we started looking at GOG and Magog. But before we actually start that, there was something I wanted to say in regards to being sensitive. Because sometimes the things that we are speaking, sometimes the words of truth can hit us in such a way that it causes us to shy away from the truth. And we were looking at being sensitive to a person's need. This was yesterday at the Black Question Time.
Last night,
yeah. We were looking at being sensitive to a person's needs as opposed to being sensitive to their feelings. Sometimes, you know, we deliver the truth in such a way which is very direct, because we're being sensitive to the needs of the people. We're being sensitive to the needs of the brothers and sisters, but sometimes we can overlook their feelings. And in doing that, we run the risk of producing a lightning tree. Last week, we were talking about a lightning tree, where the lightning strikes the tree and it petrifies the tree in that state. No more does it produce. No more does it grow leaves. It is just a skeleton now of the moment the lightning struck. And sometimes we can do that, I think, when we're not sensitive to the needs, to the feelings, as well as being sensitive to our brother's needs. I just wanted you to comment on that quickly, if you could.
I think that's very important, because sensitivity means that we have feelings ourselves. Sensitivity is part of being human. God said in the Bible that he would remove our heart of stone and give us a heart of flesh, which means that we're moving from one state as a nation of people to another, and that we'll have to learn to be sensitive to one another's feelings and needs, because that's what empathy is putting yourself in that other person's frame of reference, looking at how they're feeling in order to lift them up from where they are. Because you can't lead anybody, you can't help someone unless you the way that we lift people up is we get underneath and then lift them up. But unless we're looking at where they are, unless we understand where they are, we can't get underneath them.
That's right.
You're not able to get underneath, so we'll probably like try and drag them up from where they are. rather than
making
helping
them dig
to
their
raise.
heels in.
That's right, rather than raising one another up. And I know that with my children, unless I look at where they're coming from, I'm not going to understand how they need to be taught the lesson that they need to get, because at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, it's about us learning how to do better. But what we tend to do is those people who claim to have knowledge, those of us who say that we have a little bit of knowledge that we want to share, or that we're in a position of teaching or what have you, we have a greater responsibility in how we express that in order to lift and encourage brothers and sisters to a degree which is higher than the way that we found them.
It's the job of the civilized to civilize the savage, not the other way around, I think you're saying.
Yeah.
By Allah's grace and mercy. Okay, brothers and sisters, this week, GOG and Magog, almost said Mog then, GOG and Magog Part 2, Identity Parade. Yeah, revealing the Phantom Menace. Last week we touched on GOG and Magog. We touched on that it was actually an acronym for the purposes of this discussion, an acronym of girl on girl and male assisted girl on girl. But just backtracking a bit, who are GOG and Magog? I'm looking at my notes so don't feel that I'm, looking out of the shot for no reason. My notes are down here. We don't have an auto cue as we said last week, so let's continue. Who are GOG and Magog? What have they got to do with girls, guns, and gangs? How did we arrive at GOG and Magog? You may be wondering, because we're talking about girl-on-girl violence, gangs, girls, the copying of the female copying the male. Last week we looked at the fact that the female copies the male, although the male's mindset is damaged. It's not, well, it is visible, but with the untrained eye, it doesn't seem to be visible. When you see a brother walking with his pants hanging round his waist, that is the image of a man, a male, who is damaged mentally. When you see the brothers, with their tongue hanging out, looking at the sisters and responding to our sisters in a negative, derogatory way, that is the image of a male whose mind is damaged. But because we're living so closely together in this society, we've been cut off from the root of the knowledge of who we are. It doesn't look like damage anymore. When you see a brother speaking and spouting and spitting profanity on music, on movies, that is the image of damage. But the damage isn't seen as damage, right? So we have to get deeper into what is the root of this damage and this mindset, okay? So that's how GOG and Magog came into it. Because both the Bible and the scripture, which are our blueprint in truth, which are our manuals to resurrection, both of these books makes mention of this GOG and Magog. And both of these books, even in these books, the identity of GOG and Magog is there's still a struggle to come to the identity of these two, GOG and Magog. Yeah, both of them make reference to it. In the Bible, it makes mention of the two-horned ram in Daniel's view. And it makes mention of that as GOG and Magog, the two-horned one. The two horns, GOG, one horn, Magog, another horn. And the Bible speaks in a very symbolic way. So obviously it's not talking about a ram, but it's very interested that the ram with the horns, that's the horns makes, it draws a, what's the word? It makes you think of war. It makes you think of some armored vehicle, directing those horns towards offense. There's a reference to war. Okay, the Quran makes mention of GOG and Magog representing barbaric tribes. It also says these tribes who live in Europe, in the hills and the cave sides of Europe, and it is mentioned in the surah called the Cave, which is a very deep surah. It's a very deep chapter, brothers and sisters, and